You paid into Social Security every single paycheck of your working life, a little slice, taken before you ever saw the money. And somewhere along the way, you probably assumed the system would just tell you the right way to collect it. It won't. Nobody at the Social Security office is going to sit you down and explain the strategies that could add tens of thousands of dollars to what you receive. That's not because they're hiding anything maliciously. It's because the rules are complicated, the staff are trained to process claims, not optimize them. And the average person only interacts with this system once, right when they're about to retire and have the least room left to fix a mistake. But the mistakes are avoidable, and once you understand 7 specific mechanics buried inside this program, you'll never look at that Social Security statement the same way again. Let's start with the one that surprises people the most. Secret number 1. Every year you wait past your full retirement age to claim benefits. Up until age 70, your monthly payment grows by roughly 8%. Guaranteed, not a market return, not a projection. A guaranteed increase backed by the federal government, regardless of what stocks or bonds are doing that year. Think about what that actually means. If your full retirement age is 67 and you wait until 70, your monthly check could be worth about 24% more than if you'd claimed right at 67. Compare that to claiming at 62, the earliest possible age, and the difference between your smallest possible check and your largest possible check can be more than 70%. Why does almost nobody talk about this? Because most people claim early. Roughly a third of Americans start collecting the moment they turn 62, often out of necessity, sometimes out of fear that the program won't be there later, and sometimes simply because nobody explained the trade-off clearly. Lawrence Kotlikoff, an economist at Boston University who has spent decades studying Social Security claiming strategies, has argued that this single decision, when to start collecting, is one of the most consequential financial choices most Americans will ever make, and one of the least understood. Here's the reframe. Delaying isn't about being patient for its own sake. It's about recognizing that Social Security functions like an insurance policy against outliving your money, and the price of that insurance drops significantly the longer you wait to buy it. Secret number 2 involves marriage, and it surprises even people who think they've done their homework. If you're married, you may be entitled to a spousal benefit worth up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement age benefit, even if you personally paid very little into the system, or nothing at all. This matters enormously for households where one spouse earned significantly more than the other, or where one spouse stayed home to raise children or care for family members and had little or no traditional earnings history. The Social Security Administration will actually pay you the higher of 2 amounts, your own benefit based on your work record, or up to half of your spouse's benefit, whichever is larger. Here's the twist most people miss. You don't have to be the one who worked less. Even if both spouses worked full careers, whichever spouse would receive a smaller benefit on their own record can potentially claim the spousal amount instead, effectively topping up to that 50% threshold. Why does this stay hidden in plain sight? Because the calculation isn't automatic in the way people assume. Claiming early reduces the spousal benefit too, and the timing of when each spouse claims interacts with the other's decision in ways that aren't obvious unless you actually run the numbers for your specific situation. Secret number 3 extends this even further, into territory almost nobody expects. Divorce doesn't necessarily end your access to a former spouse's benefit. If your marriage lasted at least 10 years and you haven't remarried, you may be able to claim a spousal-style benefit based on your ex-spouse's earnings record, worth up to 50% of their full retirement age benefit. Your ex-spouse doesn't need to know you're claiming it. It doesn't reduce what they receive. It doesn't require their cooperation at all. This single rule has quietly reshaped retirement planning for millions of divorced Americans, particularly women who left the workforce for extended periods during a marriage. Yet research from the Social Security Administration itself has found that a significant share of eligible divorced spouses never claim this benefit, often because they simply don't know it exists. Secret number 4 moves from marriage to loss. Survivor benefits work differently than most people expect, and understanding the difference can mean the gap between financial stability and financial crisis after losing a spouse. When a spouse dies, the surviving spouse can typically step up to the higher of the 2 benefit amounts, essentially inheriting the larger check rather than continuing to receive their own, smaller one. But the timing of when the deceased spouse originally claimed matters enormously. If the higher earner delayed claiming until 70 to maximize their benefit, that larger amount becomes the base the surviving spouse can eventually receive. This creates a counterintuitive strategy that financial planners increasingly recommend for married couples. Even if the higher earner might personally prefer to claim early, delaying that specific benefit can function as life insurance for the lower earning spouse, protecting whichever partner outlives the other. Secret number 5 is one that trips up people who plan to keep working after they start collecting benefits early. It's called the earnings test, and it catches people off guard every year. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and continue working, the Social Security Administration will temporarily withhold part of your benefit if your income exceeds a certain threshold. In recent years, that threshold has sat somewhere in the range of $22,000 to $23,000 annually, though the exact figure adjusts periodically. For every $2 you earn above that limit, $1 of benefits gets withheld. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. That money isn't gone forever. Once you reach full retirement age, the Social Security Administration recalculates your benefit to essentially credit back the amount that was withheld, spread out over your remaining expected lifetime. It feels like a penalty in the moment. Mechanically, it functions more like a forced, temporary reduction that gets partially repaid later. Understanding this distinction changes how people should think about claiming early while still working. It's not necessarily the disaster it appears to be on a single year's statement, but it does mean claiming early while earning substantial income from a job is often mathematically inefficient. Since you're triggering withholding, you'll only partially recover. Secret number 6 catches retirees during tax season, often for the first time and often with real frustration. Social Security benefits can be taxable. Up to 85% of what you receive can be subject to federal income tax, depending on your total income in retirement. The Internal Revenue Service uses something called combined income to determine this, which adds your adjusted gross income, any non-taxable interest, and half of your Social Security benefits together. Cross certain thresholds, and a portion of your benefits becomes taxable. Cross higher thresholds, and up to 85% becomes taxable. Why does this surprise so many people? Because for decades, Social Security benefits weren't taxed at all. The rules changed in the 1980s and again in the 1990s, but the perception that Social Security is simply tax-free income has lingered far longer than the actual law has supported it. This has real planning implications. Retirees who draw heavily from traditional retirement accounts in the same years they're collecting Social Security can inadvertently push themselves into higher taxable brackets on their benefits, simply through the order in which they withdraw from different accounts. Secret number 7 is less a hidden rule and more a hidden reality about how your benefit amount gets calculated in the first place, and it explains why working a few extra years can matter more than people assume. Your Social Security benefit is based on your highest 35 years of earnings, adjusted for wage growth over time. If you worked fewer than 35 years, the missing years get counted as 0 in that calculation, dragging your average down significantly. If you worked more than 35 years, your lowest earning years automatically drop out of the calculation, replaced by any higher earning years worked afterward. This means that someone who took several years out of the workforce, whether for caregiving, education, or any other reason, and is approaching retirement with fewer than 35 years on record, could see a meaningful benefit increase simply by working a few more years to replace those zeros with actual earnings. The National Bureau of Economic Research has published analyses showing how sensitive lifetime Social Security benefits are to these kinds of relatively small, late career decisions, precisely because the 35-year averaging mechanism amplifies choices that might otherwise seem minor. So why do these 7 mechanics stay so poorly understood across an entire population that depends on this program? Partly because Social Security field offices are staffed to process claims accurately, not to run personalized optimization scenarios for every visitor. Partly because the rules genuinely are complex enough that even well-informed people often need specialized calculators or professional guidance to model their specific situation. And partly because there's a persistent myth that Social Security is simple, a fixed number you get at a fixed age, when in reality it's closer to a flexible financial instrument with multiple levers you can pull. Here's the modern mirror in all of this. These 7 secrets aren't really about some distant retirement decades away. They're about decisions you're making, or failing to make, right now. If you're married, the way you and your spouse coordinate your eventual claiming ages isn't something to figure out the week before you retire. It's a decision that benefits from years of lead time, because the optimal strategy often depends on the age gap between spouses, the difference in your earning histories, and your individual health and family longevity. If you're divorced from a marriage that lasted a decade or more, checking your eligibility for an ex-spouse's record costs you nothing and could unlock a benefit you never knew existed. If you're still a decade or more away from retirement and have gaps in your earnings history, even a few additional years of steady work could measurably increase your eventual benefit, not through some obscure loophole, but through the straightforward mechanics of how the 35-year average works. And if retirement is closer, understanding how combined income taxation works can influence something as practical as which account you draw from first, your Social Security, your retirement savings, or both, in a given year. None of these 7 secrets require gaming the system or exploiting some obscure technicality. They're simply the actual rules, written into law, publicly available, and almost never explained clearly to the people they affect most. The Social Security Administration itself doesn't hide these mechanics. They're documented in public handbooks and technical guidance, but documentation isn't the same as communication, and there's a wide gap between information existing somewhere on a government website and a person actually understanding how it applies to their specific life. That gap is exactly where most of the confusion and most of the missed opportunity lives. So here's what all of this really adds up to. Social Security was never designed to be a single number you passively receive on a fixed date. It's a set of interconnected rules involving your age, your marital history, your earnings record, and your ongoing income that together determine an outcome that can vary by tens of thousands of dollars over retirement depending on choices you have real control over. You paid into this system for decades without ever being handed a manual. Now you have 7 pages of it. What you do with that information, when you claim, how you coordinate with a spouse, whether you check an old marriage for eligibility, whether you work those extra years to erase a few zeros, is entirely up to you. The government never hid these secrets, it just never handed you the map. Now you have one. But let's go back and sit with a few of these a little longer, because the surface explanation only tells part of the story. The real value shows up in the details most people never get to. Take secret number 1 again, the 8% annual increase for delaying past full retirement age. That number sounds abstract until you translate it into a real decision. Imagine someone whose full retirement age benefit would be $2,000 a month. Claim at 62, and that monthly check might shrink to somewhere around $1,400 locked in for life, adjusted only for inflation going forward. Wait until 70, and that same benefit could grow to roughly $2,480 a month. Over a 20 or 25-year retirement, that gap compounds into a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yet most financial guidance people receive focuses entirely on savings rates and investment returns, while this guaranteed government-backed increase sits largely unmentioned. Why does this happen? Part of the answer is psychological, not mathematical. Research from the Urban Institute has found that many people treat the decision to claim Social Security the same way they treat finding money on the sidewalk, something to grab as soon as it's available, rather than as a long-term financial instrument with a genuine cost to claiming early. There's also a deeper misunderstanding at play. Many people assume that if they delay claiming and then die earlier than expected, they somehow lose out, as though the government pockets the difference. But that framing misses the insurance logic entirely. Delaying isn't a bet on living exactly to some specific age. It's protection against the scenario that actually threatens most retirees financially, living decades longer than they planned for, and running short on income in their 80s or 90s when other savings may already be depleted. Now revisit secret number 2, the spousal benefit, because there's a nuance here that catches even careful planners off guard. The 50% spousal benefit is calculated based on the higher earner's benefit at their full retirement age, not at whatever age they actually claim. That means even if the higher earning spouse decides to delay their own benefit past full retirement age to capture that 8% annual growth, the spousal benefit available to their partner doesn't grow along with it. It stays anchored to the full retirement age amount. This creates an interesting strategic wrinkle for couples. The higher earner delaying to 70 maximizes their own eventual benefit and any survivor benefit their spouse might later inherit. But it doesn't increase what the lower earning spouse can claim as a spousal benefit while both are alive. Understanding this distinction, that delay helps your own benefit and your spouse's eventual survivor benefit, but not their spousal benefit while you're both living. Changes how couples often choose to sequence their claiming decisions. Secret number 3. The divorced spouse benefit carries one more wrinkle worth understanding clearly. If your ex-spouse hasn't yet claimed their own benefit, but is eligible to, you may still be able to claim on the record, as long as you've been divorced for at least 2 years and you meet the other eligibility requirements. This matters because it removes a barrier many people assume exists, the idea that your ex has to actively be collecting before you can claim anything based on their earnings history. Secret number 4, survivor benefits, deserves one more layer of explanation, because the timing rules here are genuinely different from retirement benefit timing. A surviving spouse can begin receiving reduced survivor benefits as early as age 60, well before the standard retirement claiming age of 62. For someone who has lost a spouse and needs income sooner rather than later, this earlier availability can matter enormously, even though claiming survivor benefits early, like claiming retirement benefits early, results in a permanently reduced monthly amount. The strategic layer many financial planners now recommend involves splitting the timing. A surviving spouse might claim their own retirement benefit early, if eligible, while allowing the survivor benefit to grow until full retirement age, or vice versa, depending on which amount is larger and how the numbers work out for their specific situation. This kind of sequencing, claiming one benefit while delaying another, is only possible because Social Security allows certain beneficiaries to switch between benefit types at different ages, a flexibility that most people never realize exists until they're already deep into the claiming process. Secret number 5, the earnings test, has one more dimension worth clarifying, because the rules actually change in the calendar year you reach full retirement age. During that specific year, a higher earnings threshold applies, and the withholding rate becomes more forgiving, $1 withheld for every $3 earned above the limit, rather than 1 for every 2. Once full retirement age is reached, the earnings test disappears entirely. You can earn any amount from work and continue receiving your full benefit without any withholding at all. This distinction matters for anyone timing a phased retirement, gradually reducing work hours rather than stopping abruptly. Understanding exactly when the earnings test rules change and how the withheld amounts eventually get credited back into a higher monthly benefit later can meaningfully change how someone structures their final working years. Secret number 6, the taxation of benefits, connects to a broader planning principle that surprises many retirees, because taxation depends on combined income, which includes withdrawals from traditional retirement accounts. Some retirees can meaningfully reduce how much of their Social Security gets taxed by strategically drawing down other accounts, such as Roth accounts that don't count toward combined income, in years when they're also collecting benefits. This isn't a loophole, it's simply how the tax code is structured. But very few people coordinate their withdrawal strategy with their Social Security claiming strategy, even though the two interact directly. Secret number 7, the 35-year earnings calculation, has a particularly important implication for anyone who spent years outside the traditional workforce. The Social Security Administration's own data has shown that women, on average, are more likely than men to have fewer than 35 years of substantial earnings by the time they reach retirement age, often due to caregiving responsibilities. This means the zero-filling effect in the benefit calculation disproportionately affects a specific segment of the population and disproportionately rewards even a modest number of additional working years for exactly that group. All 7 of these mechanics share something in common. None of them are secret in the sense of being hidden or illegal to know. They're published, documented, and technically available to anyone willing to read through Social Security Administration guidance. But published isn't the same as understood, and understood isn't the same as applied to your specific circumstances at the right time. The government never hid these secrets, it just never handed you the map. Now you have one. If this changed the way you think about that number on your screen, there's more where that came from. Every week, this channel breaks down another hidden pattern behind your money. The ones nobody teaches you, the ones that quietly decide your future. So if you want to actually understand your retirement, instead of just hoping for the best, hit subscribe. Your future self will thank you for it. See you in the next one.